everyone, it's Rachel and Anthony.
Hello.
From Don't Crop Me Now. We're on holiday in the lakes at the moment and we are at the Brockhole Visitor Centre, which is very close to Ambleside where we are staying. We've been here a few times in the past, but probably not for at least 10 years. And they have a kitchen garden here that was designed in 1899. So let's take a look around. To give you an idea of size, we have estimated this is probably about 1 3/4 allotment plots that's within this whole area. The paths are quite large, presumably to make it accessible, and it does have some tarmac paths around the edge, and that takes up quite a bit of the space. The raised beds are approximately 15 by 5 feet, and a traditional allotment in the UK tends to be between 18 to 20 feet wide. So it's a bit like one allotment plot here and then sort of 3/4 of an allotment plot with the more fruit section that is on the back. Let's have a look at what is growing in these raised beds. If we look at this first raised bed, I'm not sure if they are using a no-dig process here, but there's definitely evidence of mulching on the surface with quite a rough compost. This full bed seems to be beetroot of a couple of different varieties. They've got Burpless Golden and Rainbow Mix within there. I'm presuming these have been sown quite late on in the season because the beetroots themselves are still quite small and the tops are reasonably green, so you could definitely use these for salad leaves. You can see the raised beds are quite high off the ground, probably 1.5 to 2 foot off the ground, which makes some really nice and really neat raised beds. And you can see how wide the paths are in between. Obviously this garden is open to the public, so really needs to be accessible. If you can hear that over the top, we've had to refilm quite a bit because there are lots of RAF planes that fly directly over Windermere, which is right where we are. Now this bed seems to be a little bit of a mix. I presume this was a salad type bed. Things are starting to go to seed, but you can see that there's definitely spinach on the back and some rockets in the middle. I'm not quite sure what this one was, but it was definitely some sort of brassica because the seed heads are a brassica type on this edge here. There's a few weeds in the bed, but overall I would say it's pretty tidy. You know, self-seeding sort of happens. There's some verbena there that are seeded. This is an absolutely beautiful and massive ornamental and traditional Victorian sort of style garden here. So I'm not surprised there are seeds that are dropped everywhere, even with the walled aspect of this garden. Let's have a look at this next bed. Now this one seems to be predominantly a strawberry bed. There's a few self-seeded things in here, a few flowers, and they do have at the end some nice, really nice looking Cavolo Nero, which surprisingly here, it's interesting they haven't actually netted anything in this section. It's the only thing that's got some nets on are some more strawberries, which I'll show you in a minute. So presuming they don't get too many attacks by pigeons around in this area, that Cavolo Nero is looking pretty good. Definitely could be harvested around now. If we keep going in this direction, we have got some more beetroot. I guess they must use a lot of beetroot in the cafe here. It does say on the information that they use their produce in the cafe. And here this beetroot looks a little bit more established. It's certainly bigger on top, but still quite small underneath here, just about swelling up. This is a problem that I've actually had this year, we've had on our plots, where it took a long time for that beetroot to sort of bulk up into decent sizes. So it's interesting that the same thing seems to be happening around here. We are probably an hour and a half-ish drive from Manchester, so the climate isn't too dissimilar, but they get a lot of rain here. And Manchester is said to have a lot of rain, but the Lake District definitely has more. But I'd say the climate is probably reasonably similar. On this next bit here, I presume this was a bit of like a wildflower bed. There's definitely a lot of calendula on the back there and some other wildflowers. And then here, they've had some sort of squash, some yellow squash that have been growing in here. Quite a few weeds in this section. There's only a couple of bits that aren't raised, and this is a non-raised section. Looks like their courgettes have just about finished. It was interesting, just outside the shop, they had a little tub of courgettes, which I presume they were giving away free. What do we all have lots at the moment? Definitely courgettes and cucumbers. So that was the same that's obviously happening in this garden. Then if we have a look at here, then this is really quite nice, isn't it? So we've got a lot of nasturtium that's filling this bed. It's really, really good as a green manure. Absolutely, you can see there's some bees buzzing around there as well, and it is really pretty. You can eat this. It's very, very, very peppery, the leaves, and you can also eat the petals as well. We've tried it. I'm not a particular fan because it's a little bit too strong for us, but it can be grown as a crop. Absolutely self-seeds everywhere, so I presume this will have to be a nasturtium bed for a long time. It's very difficult to get rid of that. And in the back they've got some really nice Welsh onions that have gone to seed. So these are a little bit of a type, sometimes they're called garlic chives. They are it's a bit like a sort of fat type of garlic, and they're looking pretty good actually. I don't know if they're going to manage to collect any seeds off this because it's just getting so wet now, but there's still flowers and there were some insects buzzing around them, and just a little bit of thyme in the background there. Onto this next section, you can definitely see where they have been doing some clearing, so I presume maybe perhaps something like potatoes were in that bed on the right. But on here, this is definitely a winter sown, an autumn sown for winter bed. There are a lot of winter salads in here. There are some very small celeriac. I don't know if they'll have much luck with them this late in the season, but you never know. And the tops are quite tasty, a bit like parsley. And then lots of salad as well. I mean, some of those are starting to go to seed, so I think if you are sowing salad items that you maybe over the last month, you need to really keep an eye on that. Once they start to go to seed, then they will just completely go over, so you need to break off those seeds heads if you want to keep your salads going over winter. Again, you can see the top of this soil here, so they definitely do elements of mulching, so it'll be interesting to know if they do use no dig or they don't. But there's definitely compost that has been placed on the surface of that soil, even if it's been dug first. In this next bed, there seems to be lots and lots of curly kale, which is looking really, really healthy. There's some shallots there, which it looks like they haven't managed to harvest. Might be a little bit late for those. Perhaps they are leaving them in to go to seed, to collect seed, which is interesting. Then we've got, again, a bit of a flower bed that's just starting to go over. Things are going to seed. So they've got a really nice mixture, actually, of sort of flowering areas, herbs and vegetables. And here, right on this end bit here, nice little triangle bed. Again, some later sown, I presume. That looks like it's chard. And that's that main area. So I say it's pretty typical. They've still got quite a lot of crops in, so they are managing to sow things for over the winter. On this back area here, they have got a lovely little oven. I opened it up, it's definitely been used, so that's a really nice sort of cool clay design. And then it looks a bit more of a wild area here. This looks like herbs. That one in the middle there is definitely lemongrass or lemon verbena type lemongrass. So I think this is just allowed to sort of seed, and there's some nice interesting areas. I imagine some of this probably look really good. There's definitely some rhubarb at the back over there. A lovely looking pergola, and then we are on to the next section. I presume these ones here are Jerusalem artichokes. So you can see how big these grow. They're probably up to 7 or 8 foot. They are really quite an ornamental plant, and they look very much like some sunflowers. We have grown them before at home, but they're quite invasive. In terms of the next section, I don't know if you can see that little robin actually in the background there, which is really quite cute. Their leeks look really good, and they are not covered, so I'm guessing they haven't had too much problem with leek moth like the rest of us seem to be suffering with. They definitely look nice and healthy, and imagine they would do a lot of food over the winter. The robin is following us around. We have got some winter brassicas here. This looks like it is some sort of sprouting broccoli. They look really good. Again, not covered. And then into the next section. This was obviously the onion bed. It looks like they've pulled quite a few onions, but there are some smaller ones that are left in. So some of these look like they are more spring onions that I've been just allowed to get a little bit bigger as opposed to main crop onions. So let's have a look. Oh, there you go. White Lisbon spring onions. So the spring onions do bulb up if you leave them in long enough. So they would be still edible as a crop. Here, look, I don't know if these are gherkins or cucumbers, perhaps gherkins actually, because they look quite small, but they've got a big row of these that should have been climbing up. This really reminds me of what we've got at home, where I tried to put this wonderful climbing structure in for our cucumbers, and I didn't tie them in and they just sprawled all over the bed. So we've just got a bed full of cucumbers with a random sort of TP structure in, and it's sort of similar to what's happened here really. So you can grow these really well as climbing plants, but you do need to get them tied in regularly at first. So it's interesting to see that some of the professionals here that must run this kitchen garden are having the same problems as the rest of us. More nasturtium and squash again here, and then this is the raised section that goes up. It's on quite a bit of a slope. We go up these steps, they have got some celeriac here that has not sort of filled up the bulb. This is really not surprising. It is, personally, I find a really difficult crop to grow. You can get lots of bits on the top, which is a bit like a little bit more of a tougher parsley, but they need a lot of water to fill up those roots. And we're in the middle of the Lake District, which is famous for its water, and they haven't managed to fill up the roots here. So I know some people do have really good success with celeriac, but I personally find it really tricky to grow, and it looks like the same thing has been happening in this garden as well. We've got some nice Savoy cabbage here, which a lot of these, they're quite small, but they are hearted up quite well. And then on this back area, it looks like it's a fruit area. There are a lot of raspberries. I presume these are autumn raspberries. There's a few fruits left on them. Looks like they're coming to the end of their sort of season. And then we have an area that's sort of clear here with a few sweet corn on the back. So maybe this was filled with more sweet corn, I don't know. And then we have a strawberry section that interestingly is netted. Right in the corner, looks like they've got a little bit more fruit. Some different types of currants, and there's definitely bits of comfrey coming up in different places, which is a great plant for composting, but it's quite difficult to control. It does take up some quite large areas, some a bit more at the back. So if we have a turn around, and you can see this whole kitchen garden, Anthony's over there, and you can see it's a really beautiful and interesting layout. So it's really interesting to have a look around other gardens, and we really love doing this when we're away. It's also quite reassuring to find that the professionals actually have had similar issues in growing some of their crops this year that we have. So everyone struggles with the same thing, and no 2 years are ever the same in gardening. So I hope you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, please like, comment and subscribe. It only takes a minute, but it really helps our channel. Bye everyone.
Bye.